Ethan Miller had always been a born adventurer. At 28 years old, he worked as a tour guide in national parks across the United States, leading groups through lush trails and breathtaking landscapes. His passion for the outdoors was evident in every story he told around the campfire, and in the way his eyes sparkled when he described the vastness of the forests he knew so well. On the other hand, there was Derek Sullivan, a reserved and enigmatic man who had recently moved to the small town of Pine Hollow. Located near Redwood National Park, Derek was known for his solitary hikes and the strange behavior that sparked curiosity and distrust among the locals. Little was known about his past, but whispers spread rumors of tragic losses and an unending quest for redemption. That summer, Ethan decided to organize a nighttime expedition to explore a little-known area of the park, famous for its ancient legends and obscure trails. The team consisted of 5 people, 3 tourists eager for adventure, a dedicated photographer, and, of course, Ethan as the leader. The excitement was palpable as they prepared their gear under the starlit sky. As the night wore on, the atmosphere at the campsite grew denser. Mysterious sounds echoed through the forest and shadows danced among the trees, fueling everyone's imagination. Ethan, confident and experienced, kept the group focused on their mission, but something felt off. The trails, once familiar, now seemed to shift directions, as if the forest itself were alive and conspiring against them. It was then that they spotted a solitary figure in the distance. Approaching cautiously, they realized it was Derek. He stood at the edge of a cliff, staring intently into the abyss. Without warning, he abruptly turned and vanished into the darkness of the forest, leaving the group confused and uneasy. The tension escalated as they began to notice that essential items were mysteriously disappearing from their tents, and unsettling sounds accompanied every step they took. Ethan tried to remain calm, but the feeling of being watched became increasingly oppressive. The unity of the group began to fray as fear set in, and the night that should have been an adventure was transforming into a growing nightmare. Amidst the chaos, a thick fog began to form, further obscuring the environment and complicating their sense of direction. The forest, once majestic, now felt like a labyrinth with no exit, where every path led to more questions than answers. The uncertainty about what was truly happening began to undermine everyone's confidence, creating an atmosphere of distrust and paranoia that threatened to unravel the group's cohesion. As they struggled to find a safe way back, the whispers of the forest seemed to intensify, as if nature itself were delivering a grim warning. The constant presence of Derek loomed over them, a shadow that silently followed, feeding their deepest and oldest fears. The battle for survival that night was just beginning, and the true terror was about to be revealed. The small town of Pine Hollow was a peaceful refuge nestled in the foothills of Redwood National Park, USA. Known for its towering century-old trees and serene trails, Pine Hollow attracted tourists seeking tranquility and a connection with nature. However, behind its idyllic appearance, the town harbored ancient secrets and legends that whispered through the generations. Ethan Miller, the protagonist, was not just an experienced tour guide, but also a respected member of the local community. His family had lived in Pine Hollow for decades, and he knew every nook of the park like the back of his hand. Ethan was known for his generosity and dedication, always willing to help visitors and locals with whatever they needed. His passion for the natural environment was reflected in his calm and thoughtful demeanor, as well as in his ability to maintain harmony within the group during expeditions. Ethan's team for the nighttime expedition was composed of diverse individuals, each bringing their own stories and motivations for the adventure. Lisa Thompson, a professional photographer, aimed to capture the park's mystical essence through her lens. Her relentless curiosity and attention to detail made her a valuable addition to the group. Mark Davis, a tech entrepreneur, saw the expedition as an opportunity to escape urban stress and reconnect with nature. His presence brought a balance between pragmatism and the search for personal meaning. Sarah Lee, a biology student, was determined to document the park's nighttime biodiversity, while Tom Harris, a writer in search of inspiration, hoped to find stories that would fuel his next literary work. Each team member had a unique reason for being there, but all shared the desire to explore the unknown and live an unforgettable experience. Derek Sullivan, the antagonist, remained an enigmatic figure. Since his arrival in Pine Hollow, he kept a respectful distance, rarely interacting with the townsfolk. His solitary presence on the trails was a topic of speculation. Some said he sought redemption for past mistakes, while others believed he was in search of something darker and more inexplicable, deep within the forest. The nights in Pine Hollow were marked by an almost supernatural tranquility, interrupted only by the sounds of local wildlife and the occasional rustle of the trees. However, as Ethan's expedition progressed, subtle signs of tension began to emerge. The friendly atmosphere of the town contrasted sharply with the growing sense of unease that lingered over the group. Small incidents, such as lanterns inexplicably going out and distant noises that seemed to draw closer, began to shake the participants' confidence. The local culture of Pine Hollow was deeply rooted in indigenous traditions and the stories of pioneers who had explored the region. These cultural influences permeated daily life and, in some way, shaped the inhabitants' relationship with the surrounding forest. Ethan, with his deep knowledge of these traditions, tried to convey to the group the importance of respecting and understanding the environment they were about to explore. He shared ancient legends that spoke of protective spirits and areas of the forest that should be avoided after dark. Meanwhile, Derek watched the group with a distant gaze, his motivations remaining hidden. There was something unsettling about her presence, a mix of sadness and determination that suggested a deep connection to the forest and its mysteries. Her story, still unrevealed, promised to add layers of complexity to the conflict that was about to unfold. As night fell, the interactions among the team members revealed their personalities and vulnerabilities. Lisa, despite her confident facade, showed signs of anxiety as the forest sounds grew louder. Mark, ever the rational thinker, tried to find logical explanations for the inexplicable events, while Sarah expressed a scientific curiosity that led her to question every phenomenon observed. Tom, on the other hand, sought inspiration in the shadows and silences of the forest, but his creative quest was beginning to be overshadowed by the growing fear that haunted the group. The integration of the Pine Hollow setting not only served as a backdrop, but also directly influenced the decisions and interactions of the characters. The winding trails and densely wooded areas represented both physical and psychological challenges, testing the group's resilience and cohesion. The rich cultural and historical tapestry of the area added depth to the narrative, creating an environment where the past and present intertwined in an unsettling manner. Derek, with his reserved and observant demeanor, was increasingly becoming a central figure in the emerging tensions. His limited interaction with the group raised questions about his true intentions and role in the unfolding events. While Ethan tried to maintain calm and order, Derek's presence seemed to amplify the fears and doubts already haunting the team members. The town of Pine Hollow, with its natural beauty and hidden secrets, was the perfect stage for the development of the characters' personalities and dynamics. Every detail, from the glow of the stars reflected on the treetops to the distant murmur of ancient stories, contributed to the construction of an atmosphere of suspense and mystery that permeated the entire narrative. As Ethan's nighttime expedition progressed through the dark trails of Redwood National Park, tension within the group began to escalate. The thick fog that enveloped them created a sense of claustrophobia, hindering visibility and amplifying the feeling of isolation. Each step seemed to take them deeper into a natural labyrinth, where orientation became a constant battle against disorientation. Shortly after catching sight of Derek for the first time, small incidents began to occur. Mark's lantern, an essential tool for nighttime navigation, suddenly went out while he was checking the map. Trying to solve the problem, he discovered that the battery had inexplicably died. Lisa reported that her cameras were capturing distorted images, as if something invisible were manipulating the equipment. These initial events, while subtle, planted the seeds of paranoia among the group members. As night advanced, the obstacles became more frequent and disturbing. Sarah, the biology student, found strange tracks on the ground, marks that didn't correspond to any known animals in the area. Her scientific curiosity led her to investigate. But as she approached the tracks, she felt an unsettling presence that made her back away abruptly, leaving the group even more apprehensive. Tom, the writer, began experiencing fragmented visions and inexplicable noises that hindered his ability to document the events. Ethan, trying to maintain calm and leadership, felt the pressure starting to affect him. During an attempt to reorganize the group, he tripped over an exposed root and fell, injuring his ankle. The physical pain added an extra layer of stress, limiting his mobility and ability to guide the team. With Ethan injured, the group's dynamics changed drastically, increasing their vulnerability to unknown threats. Derek, observing from a distance, began to interact more directly, albeit enigmatically. In a tense moment, he offered assistance to Ethan, holding his hand and helping him to rise. This interaction, although seemingly friendly, carried an ambiguity that left all the group members suspicious. Derek's presence, which had once been merely a distant shadow, was now a tangible force influencing each one's behavior and emotions. The tension reached a climax when the group stumbled upon a circular clearing, where the ground was covered with mysterious symbols carved into the stones. These symbols, reminiscent of ancient indigenous traditions, suggested a ritual or a spiritual presence. Fascinated, Sarah attempted to decipher the symbols, but her analysis was interrupted by a deafening crash that seemed to come from all directions. The clearing, which had once seemed like an archaeological point of interest, now transformed into an epicenter of fear and despair. As they tried to understand the meaning of the symbols, a strong wind began to blow, carrying with it indistinct whispers that seemed to echo the stories of Pine Hollow. The group members began to feel an oppressive presence, as if they were being watched by invisible entities that inhabited the forest. The heavy atmosphere, laden with mystery, further eroded their trust in one another, leading to heated discussions and mutual accusations regarding the origins of the inexplicable events. Lisa, who had always been the most rational member of the group, began to doubt her own sanity. She suggested that perhaps they were facing unknown natural phenomena, but her theory was quickly dismissed by Sarah, who firmly believed that something more sinister was at play. Mark, trying to maintain logic, proposed that they might be suffering from tension-induced hallucinations due to isolation, but his suggestion only deepened the divide within the group. The situation reached a critical point when Tom mysteriously disappeared during a nighttime patrol to find a way out of the clearing. The frantic search for Tom revealed only confusing clues and tracks leading in opposite directions, leaving the group even more disoriented and desperate. Tom's absence exacerbated both individual and collective fears, turning the expedition into a fight for survival against unknown forces. Ethan, now not only dealing with his physical injury, but also with the responsibility of keeping the group united, felt the weight of leadership crushing his confidence. His determination began to waver as he realized that the legends of Pine Hollow, which he had once known so well, might be manifesting in terrifying and real ways. The thin line between reality and the supernatural began to dissolve, leaving him in a state of constant alertness and fear. Derek, on the other hand, seemed to thrive amid the growing adversity. His silent presence and enigmatic actions suggested a deep understanding of the forces now threatening the group. In critical moments, he would appear to offer solutions that, while effective, involved considerable risks and personal sacrifices. The ambiguity of his intentions kept everyone uncertain about whether he was an ally or an antagonistic force. As the night deepened, the group members faced not only external threats, but also internal conflicts that tested their emotional and psychological limits. Distrust, fear, and exhaustion created an environment ripe for mistakes and hasty decisions, further increasing the chances of disaster. Each interaction became a battle for survival, not only against the mysterious forces of the forest, but also against the inner demons each person carried. The development of the conflict was paving the way for an inevitable climax, where Derek's true intentions would be revealed, and the legends of Pine Hollow would come to life in unimaginable ways. The escalation of obstacles and the depth of human emotions were setting the stage for a tragic conclusion, where the struggle for survival would become a final test of courage, loyalty, and redemption. As the main tension intensified within Ethan's group, various subplots began to emerge, adding layers of complexity to the narrative and deepening the dynamics between the characters. Lisa Thompson, the professional photographer, started facing personal challenges that affected her ability to focus on the expedition. A few months prior, she had lost her younger brother under mysterious circumstances during a similar expedition. This unresolved trauma haunted her, and the constant presence of Derek, along with the inexplicable events in the forest, reignited old wounds. Her quest to capture the mystical essence of the park became an attempt to understand and confront her own internal struggles. Mark Davis, the tech entrepreneur, was going through a crisis at work. His company was on the verge of bankruptcy due to a series of poor strategic decisions, and he saw the expedition as an opportunity to escape the constant stress and pressure. However, as the supernatural events escalated, Mark began to question his own leadership abilities and the effectiveness of his pragmatic approach in the face of the unknown. The need to maintain logic amid chaos started to erode his confidence, leading him to confront internal struggles regarding his identity and purpose. Sarah Lee, the biology student, was conducting crucial research for her thesis on the nighttime biodiversity of temperate forests. The expedition represented a unique opportunity to collect valuable data, but the strange phenomena they encountered threatened not only the integrity of her research, but also her mental sanity. Sarah struggled to balance her scientific curiosity with the growing fear, and the strange marks she discovered on the trail raised questions about the interaction between local fauna and possible supernatural influences. Her determination to unravel the mysteries of the forest put her in conflict with other group members, who viewed her obsession as a threat to their collective survival. Tom Harris, the writer, found himself at a creative crossroads. After years of writer's block, he hoped the solitude and tranquility of the forest would inspire new stories. However, the fragmented visions and inexplicable noises that began to haunt him not only blocked his creativity, but also fueled a growing paranoia. Tom started to question the reality of his own experiences, creating a subplot of doubt and distrust that permeated his interactions with the group. His internal struggle mirrored the external conflict, symbolizing the thin line between sanity and madness in the face of the unknown. Beyond the individual subplots, the interpersonal relationships within the group began to deteriorate under the pressure of supernatural events. Ethan Miller and Derek Sullivan shared a mysterious connection that had yet to be fully revealed. Small gestures and glances suggested a shared past or a silent understanding of the forces now threatening the group. This underlying tension added a layer of mystery to their interactions, leaving the other group members uncertain about the true nature of their relationship. Derek's constant presence also triggered subplots of distrust and suspicion among group members. Some began to question whether he was genuinely trying to help or if he had hidden intentions that could endanger them all. These doubts led to heated discussions and fragile alliances, further fragmenting the group's cohesion. The duality of Derek as a potential ally or antagonist kept everyone in a state of constant alertness, adding an element of unpredictability to the narrative. The local culture of Pine Hollow, with its indigenous traditions and pioneer stories, also influenced the subplots. Ethan, with his deep knowledge of local legends, tried to convey to the group the importance of respecting sacred spaces and understanding the stories that shaped the inhabitants' relationship with the forest. However, the rising tension and inexplicable events challenged these traditions, creating a conflict between respecting the past and fighting for survival in the present. This dichotomy, reflected in the characters' choices, forced them to confront their own beliefs and values in the face of the unknown. The subplots, intertwined with the main conflict, enriched the narrative and deepened character development. Each challenge faced not only advanced the plot, but also revealed the internal strengths and weaknesses of the individuals, making the fight for survival not just physical, but also emotional and psychological. The constant pressure of the forest and Derek's enigmatic presence acted as catalysts, exposing the true natures of the characters and preparing the ground for the complexities that would unfold as the story moved toward its inevitable climax. The early morning hours were advancing when the group, already exhausted and emotionally drained, decided to venture deeper into the forest in hopes of finding an exit, or at least some sign of civilization. The fog continued to thicken, making each step a struggle against invisibility and disorientation. The trees, tall and imposing, seemed to whisper ancient secrets, their intertwined canopies blocking any glimpse of the starry sky. As they walked cautiously, a sharp, metallic sound cut through the silence of the night. It echoed distantly, as if metal were being dragged over rocks. The group stopped abruptly, their lanterns illuminating the surrounding darkness. Ethan, trying to maintain his composure, signaled for everyone to stop and listen intently. The sound repeated, now closer, coming from an unknown direction. Suddenly, a flickering light appeared among the trees, pulsating in an irregular rhythm. The group exchanged worried glances, knowing that something unusual was about to happen. Derek, who had previously kept his distance, stepped forward, his demeanor different from usual. There was a determination in his eyes that Ethan had never seen before. "We need to follow that light," Derek said, his voice calm yet firm. "It could be the key to getting out of here." Hesitation washed over the group. Lisa stood up, holding her camera as if it could capture some sign of safety. "What if it's a trap?" she questioned, her voice trembling slightly. Derek looked at each of them, his penetrating gaze conveying a silent confidence. "We don't have many options. We need to try." Reluctantly, the group agreed and began to follow the mysterious light. As they advanced, an open clearing revealed an ancient structure covered in moss and surrounded by an aura of mystery. It was a stone construction, adorned with symbols similar to those they had encountered earlier, but now illuminated by torches that seemed to be lit by an invisible hand. In the center of the structure, a solitary figure was kneeling, performing an unusual ritual. As they approached, the figure rose, revealing itself to be Derek. His appearance had changed. There was an intensity in his eyes that hadn't existed before, and an aura of power emanated from his presence. "Ethan," he began, his voice heavy with emotion, "there's so much I need to explain." Before he could continue, the structure began to tremble, and a palpable energy filled the air. Glowing symbols emerged from the walls, projecting complex patterns of light that danced in the air. The group recoiled, frightened by the sudden manifestation of unknown forces. Derek, now central in the clearing, began to chant ancient incantations, while Ethan, battling panic, struggled to comprehend what was happening. The impending battle was not only against an external force, but also against the internal doubts that threatened to destabilize Ethan's leadership and the group's trust. At the height of the tension, Ethan made a crucial decision. He knelt beside Derek, joining in the chants in the hope of invoking the protection needed to confront the entity. The unexpected collaboration between them created a powerful synergy, and the mysterious forces began to retreat, compelled to acknowledge the combined effort of the two men. However, victory came at a cost. The energy expended during the ritual left Derek exhausted and vulnerable. Before he could recover, the entity launched one last desperate attack, absorbing Derek's vital essence to sustain its dark existence. With a final scream, Derek was consumed by the shadow, leaving the group in stunned silence, awestruck and devastated by the unexpected loss. Ethan, now bearing the weight of leadership and the responsibility to guide the group to safety, felt an internal transformation. The revelation about Derek and the sacrifice he made to protect Pine Hollow changed the dynamic of the group irrevocably. The trust that had been shaken began to re-establish itself, united by shared experience and a deeper understanding of the true forces inhabiting the forest. As the mist began to dissipate, the group realized they had overcome one of the greatest threats they had faced. However, the price paid and the emotional scars remained, shaping the journey that still lay ahead. The turning point not only altered the course of their story, but also revealed the depths of courage, loyalty, and redemption that each character possessed. After the dramatic turning point, Ethan's group found themselves in a state of shock and desolation. The loss of Derek Sullivan left a deep mark on each member, affecting their relationships and significantly altering the group's dynamics. Ethan Miller immediately took on the responsibility of guiding the group to safety. Despite the pain and exhaustion, he knew he couldn't let fear paralyze them. His leadership was tested like never before, requiring him to balance the need to stay calm with the urgency to find a way out of the forest. Derek's absence led Ethan to reflect on the true intentions of the antagonist and the depth of the forces they were facing. Lisa Thompson, still shaken by Derek's loss, found herself struggling to maintain her composure. Her confidence in reason and logic was shaken, and she began to question her own photography skills, which had once been her greatest strength. The pain of losing her brother, combined with the recent trauma, led her to moments of vulnerability that she rarely showed to others. However, the need to capture images that could document the truth of the events motivated them to continue. Despite the constant fear, Mark Davis felt torn between the necessity of maintaining logic and the growing evidence that supernatural forces were at play. Derek's death shook his faith in the pragmatic approach he had always used to solve problems. He began to seek answers in local myths and legends, trying to reconcile science with the inexplicable. This internal conflict led to confrontations with Sarah, who was increasingly inclined to accept the existence of the mysterious entities. Sarah Lee found herself more determined than ever to understand the phenomena they were facing. Derek's revelation about the dark entities and ancient rituals awakened a scientific curiosity in her that transcended mere academic research. She began to map the symbols and patterns they encountered, hoping to discover a way to neutralize the forces threatening their lives. Her dedication, while admirable, put her at risk, as she often prioritized investigation over the immediate safety of the group. Tom Harris, traumatized by Derek's loss and the supernatural experiences, sank deeper into his creative block. The paranoia that already plagued him intensified, making him increasingly isolated and distrustful of the others. His attempts to document the events became chaotic and fragmented, reflecting his deteriorating mental state. Tom's absence during the final confrontation left a void in each member's personal narrative, heightening their sense of loss and despair. Derek's absence triggered a series of emotional and behavioral reactions among the group members. Ethan, feeling responsible for everyone's safety, began to experience moments of doubt and mental exhaustion. The pressure to lead under such circumstances weighed heavily on him, making each decision more difficult and every step more uncertain. His relationship with Mark became tense, as their conflicting approaches to handling the situation often resulted in misunderstandings. Lisa and Sarah developed an unexpected alliance, uniting in the quest for answers that went beyond common understanding. Their collaboration brought a new dynamic to the group, where the combination of Lisa's creativity and Sarah's scientific curiosity began to reveal valuable insights about the phenomena they were facing. However, this partnership also generated jealousy and resentment towards Mark and Tom, who felt excluded and undervalued. Mark, in turn, found himself increasingly isolated, struggling to find a balance between the logic he valued and the mysticism embraced by Sarah and Lisa. His attempts to integrate rational explanations into the supernatural events led to internal and external conflicts, creating a rift in the group that threatened their cohesion. Tension mounted as each member tried to cope with their own emotions and responsibilities, while invisible forces continued to press upon their sanity and unity. The emotional scars left by Derek's death and the supernatural events began to shape the group's journey. The need to survive became a struggle, not only against external threats, but also against the internal demons each one carried. The residual distrust regarding Derek and the uncertainty of what else they might face in the forest created an atmosphere of constant alertness and fear. Additionally, the cultural influence of Pine Hollow and its ancient traditions continued to play a crucial role in the characters' actions. Ethan, with his deep respect for local legends, sought ways to honor the traditions and use ancestral knowledge to guide the group. His ability to connect the past with the present provided a solid foundation for confronting the unknown forces. But it also put him at odds with those seeking more immediate and pragmatic answers. The interactions among the characters became more complex, as each dealt with their own reactions to the events. Tom grew increasingly unpredictable, his actions often driven by irrational fear that led him to make hasty and dangerous decisions. His relationship with the others deteriorated further, creating fissures that threatened the group's collective survival. The ongoing tension and the consequences of the group's actions set the stage for the challenges yet to come. The struggle for survival in Pine Hollow had transformed into a multifaceted battle, where every decision and interaction could determine everyone's fate. The emotional reactions and consequences of choices made thus far were profoundly shaping the narrative, preparing the group to face even greater challenges as they ventured deeper into the mysterious forest. After facing the devastating consequences of Derek's sacrifice, Ethan's group was more fragmented than ever. The loss of the enigmatic Derek Sullivan left deep scars on each team member, forcing them to confront not only the external forces threatening their lives, but also the internal demons each carried. Ethan Miller felt the weight of leadership more intensely than before. The responsibility of guiding the group now rested on his shoulders in an even more overwhelming manner. Determined to honor Derek's sacrifice, Ethan began to seek within himself the strength needed to carry on. He revisited the traditions and legends Derek had shared, trying to better understand the forces they were confronting. This quest for knowledge led to a personal transformation, where his wavering confidence was replaced by unwavering determination. Ethan began to lead with a combination of empathy and firmness, inspiring others to find their own inner strength. Lisa Thompson, still shaken by Derek's loss and the trauma of seeing her younger brother disappear, found a new source of courage through photography. Determined not to let her anguish overpower her, Lisa began to use her camera not just to capture images, but also as a form of therapy. Each photo she took represented a part of her healing journey, helping her process her pain and find beauty even in the darkest circumstances. Her emotional evolution made her a more resilient figure within the group, capable of offering silent support and comfort to the others. Mark Davis faced a profound internal conflict. Derek's loss challenged his purely logical view of the world, forcing him to accept the existence of forces that could not be explained by science. This recognition led him on a journey of self-discovery, where he began to integrate his pragmatic approach with an openness to the unknown. Mark learned to balance his need for control with acceptance of uncertainty, developing a new perspective that combined reason and intuition. This change not only strengthened his leadership, but also facilitated a more harmonious collaboration with Sarah and Lisa. Sarah Lee delved even deeper into her research, determined to uncover the mysteries surrounding Pine Hollow. Her scientific curiosity transformed into a fervent passion for understanding the interactions between the local fauna and the supernatural forces that inhabited the forest. Sarah began to identify patterns and connections that had previously gone unnoticed, developing innovative theories that could explain the inexplicable phenomena. Her tireless dedication not only advanced the group's understanding of the situation, but also helped her find a greater purpose in the struggle for survival. Tom Harris, still grappling with his creative block and the paranoia that consumed him, found new motivation to overcome his fears. The absence of Derek and the traumatic experiences in the forest forced him to confront his deepest insecurities. With the subtle support of Ethan and Lisa, Tom began to channel his conflicting emotions into his writing, transforming his creative block into a driving force to document the true nature of the events they were facing. This transformation not only helped Tom regain his creativity, but also provided the group with a valuable perspective on the horrors that lay ahead. As the group moved deeper into the forest, each member began to demonstrate significant growth. The adversities they faced together strengthened their bonds and enhanced their individual skills. Ethan, now more confident and resilient, took on an even more prominent leadership role, guiding the group with wisdom and courage. Lisa, through her art, found a way to express and heal her emotions, becoming an emotional pillar for the others. Mark integrated his logical approach with an openness to the unknown, becoming a vital link between the group's reason and intuition. Sarah transformed into an indefatigable researcher, providing crucial insights that helped unravel the mysteries of the forest. Tom, finally overcoming his creative block, became a powerful storyteller of the group's experiences, documenting not just the events, but also the personal growth of each member. The journey through the forest not only forced them to confront physical dangers, but also compelled them to face and overcome their own vulnerabilities. Each challenge they overcame strengthened their determination and solidified the group's cohesion, preparing them for the even more intense events that lay ahead. The personal transformation of each member reflected human resilience in the face of horror and adversity, illustrating that even in the most desperate situations, courage and unity can emerge as powerful forces for survival and redemption. With the group now more united and each member having overcome significant personal challenges, their journey through the Pine Hollow forest was about to reach its climax. Tension and urgency escalated as they advanced toward the heart of the forest, where, according to local legends and Derek's revelations, lay the source of the dark forces threatening their lives. Ethan Miller, empowered by his personal transformation, took on an even more prominent role as leader. He organized the group's strategies with a blend of logic and intuition, utilizing the ancestral knowledge he had acquired to guide the team toward the inevitable climax. His determination to protect the group and honor Derek's sacrifice served as an inspiration for everyone. Lisa Thompson continued to use her camera as a tool for healing and communication. The images she captured not only documented the supernatural events, but also served as a way to express the emotions and fears each group member faced. Her ability to perceive subtle details helped identify patterns and clues that could be crucial in unraveling the mysteries of the forest. Mark Davis had found a balance between his pragmatic approach and openness to the unknown. He developed improvised devices to detect and monitor anomalous activities, combining technology with traditional practices that Ethan had shared. His technical innovation provided the group with a strategic advantage, allowing them to anticipate and react more effectively to imminent threats. Sarah Lee was more determined than ever to understand the biodiversity and supernatural phenomena interlinked within the forest. She meticulously mapped the areas they explored, identifying points of interest that could hold answers to the strange events they were facing. Her advanced research provided valuable insights that helped unravel the connection between the local fauna and the dark entities of the forest. Tom Harris had partially overcome his creative block, channeling his traumatic experiences into narratives that reflected the internal struggle of the group. His notes and accounts served as crucial documentation of events, allowing the group to review and better understand the patterns unfolding. His ability to transform chaos into coherent stories helped maintain focus and clarity amid confusion. As they approached the center of the forest, the surrounding environment became increasingly oppressive and charged with palpable energy. The trees, once majestic, now seemed to twist in a sinister manner, and the sounds of the forest transformed into indistinct whispers echoing through the dense canopy. The atmosphere was permeated by a sense of inevitability, as if the forest was about to reveal its darkest secrets. The group arrived at a wide clearing, where an ancient structure, resembling an altar, stood at its center. Complex symbols were carved into the surrounding stones, reflecting a blend of indigenous traditions and unknown influences. Ethan immediately recognized the importance of this location, understanding that it was the focal point of the forces they were confronting. "This is the heart of the forest," Ethan said, his voice steady despite the evident tension. "This is where everything happens. We need to be prepared for what's to come." Lisa adjusted her camera, capturing every detail of the clearing with meticulous precision. These symbols, they seem to represent a containment ritual. "Perhaps this is what we're trying to disrupt." Mark activated his devices, monitoring the energy readings around them. "The anomalies have significantly increased here. We need to act quickly before the situation spirals out of control." Sarah, with her notebook in hand, pointed to the symbols. "These patterns indicate a direct connection with the endemic species of the region. There is a harmony between biodiversity and spiritual forces. We need to find a way to restore that balance." Tom, observing the clearing, quickly began sketching in his notebook. "If we understand the purpose of these symbols, we can find a solution that works for all of us, something that unites our scientific understanding with local traditions." As the group discussed their next steps, a sense of urgency filled the air. Night was about to culminate in an inevitable confrontation with the forces that inhabited the forest, and each member knew that their skills and personal growth would be crucial in facing the final challenge. Ethan took the lead, organizing the action plans with clarity and precision. "We need to perform a counter-ritual to neutralize these entities. Sarah, you and Mark can work together to identify the energy points. Lisa, capture everything you can for later analysis. Tom, your documentation will be vital for understanding what we're up against." With responsibilities distributed, the group began preparing for the impending climax. Each member, now more confident and resilient, brought their unique skills to the table, forming a cohesive team determined to face the unknown. The collaboration and mutual trust, forged through past adversities, created a solid foundation for the battle ahead. As they finalized the details of their plan, a sense of inevitability permeated the group. They knew they were about to confront the darkest essence of the forest, and the outcome of this battle would determine not only their survival, but also the fate of Pine Hollow. The preparation for the climax was not just a matter of strategy, but also of unity and inner strength, reflecting the personal growth that each had experienced throughout the journey. With hearts racing and minds focused, the group positioned themselves in the clearing, ready to face whatever the forest had in store for them. The climax was near, and the final battle for survival was about to begin. The ancient clearing was enveloped in a tense silence, broken only by the rhythmic sound of Ethan and Sarah's chants. The makeshift torches cast dancing shadows on the stone walls, creating an almost surreal backdrop for the final confrontation that was about to unfold. The group was prepared, each member aligning themselves with their role in the counter-ritual that could save their lives and restore the forest's balance. Ethan Miller led the group with renewed determination. He held an amulet that Derek had left behind, a central piece for the ritual that combined ancestral traditions with Sarah's scientific knowledge. His eyes fixed on the altar, Ethan felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders, but his courage did not waver. Sarah Lee was focused, reciting the scientific verses she had developed to complement the traditional chants. Her voice echoed in the clearing, harmonizing beautifully with the natural sounds of the forest. Beside her, Mark Davis adjusted the devices he had created, synchronizing them with the energy patterns detected earlier. The lights from the devices pulsed in unison with the symbols carved into the stones, creating a perfect harmony between technology and tradition. Lisa Thompson moved quickly, positioning herself strategically to capture every moment with her camera. Her steady hands ensured that every detail was recorded, not only to document the event, but also to provide a clear insight into the forces they were about to face. Tom Harris, finally overcoming his creative block, read aloud the passages he had written, transforming his experiences into words that served as a guide for the ritual. As they completed their preparations, a palpable sense of anticipation filled the air. The clearing began to glow with an ethereal light, emanating from the symbols that were now perfectly aligned with Mark's devices. A gentle breeze swept through the forest, bringing with it indistinct whispers that seemed to share ancient secrets. Suddenly, a dark presence emerged from the shadows of the forest. The grotesque entity Derek had mentioned was materializing before them, its distorted form and empty eyes reflecting the essence of the evil that dwelled in the forest. The creature advanced slowly, its threatening presence overwhelming the clearing with an aura of absolute terror. Without hesitation, Ethan initiated the counter-ritual, combining the traditional chants with Sarah's scientific readings. The energy around them began to vibrate intensely, and the stone symbols started to glow even brighter. Mark activated his devices, creating an energy field that interacted with the spiritual force of the ritual. Trying to stabilize the rising tension, the entity reacted immediately, advancing with relentless fury. Its sharp claws slashed through the air as it attempted to break the energy barrier protecting them. The group worked in unison, each action coordinated to strengthen the ritual and repel the malevolent force that threatened their lives. At the height of the battle, an explosion of light and energy erupted in the clearing. The entity let out a deafening scream, its form disintegrating under the combined pressure of tradition and science. Ethan, feeling the energy of the ritual peak, delivered one final chant of strength and courage. The intense light enveloped the clearing, consuming the entity and restoring momentary peace to the forest. However, victory came at a devastating price. The extreme effort required to complete the ritual drained Ethan's vital energy, leaving him exhausted and weakened. As the group recovered from the confrontation, the clearing began to crumble around them, the ancient stones cracking and falling under the residual force of the ritual. Ethan fell to his knees, his frail body unable to bear the weight of the leadership he had carried up to that moment. His eyes, once filled with determination, now reflected pain and loss. The group, though victorious, faced the somber reality that their journey was coming to a tragic end. Lisa, Mark, Sarah, and Tom gathered around Ethan, each recognizing the sacrifice that had been made to save their lives and protect Pine Hollow. The emotional and physical scars of the final battle marked each of them, reminding them of the cost of survival and the struggle against the forces of evil. As the clearing began to settle, the fog that had enveloped the forest slowly started to dissipate, revealing the path back to Pine Hollow. The group, now bonded by indelible ties of trauma and courage, began their walk back, each step carrying the weight of shared experiences and the losses endured. The night that had begun with hope and adventure ended in tragedy and sacrifice, leaving an indelible mark on the history of Pine Hollow and on the souls of those who survived. The final battle had been fought, but the scars left by the confrontation would remain forever, reminding everyone that sometimes the true horror lies not just in external forces, but also in the depths of humanity itself. As Ethan Miller's group moved away from the now silent clearing, the first light of dawn began to break on the horizon, dissipating the fog that had shrouded the forest throughout the night. The walk back to Pine Hollow was quiet, each member reflecting on the traumatic events they had faced and the losses they had suffered. The fresh morning air carried a sense of relief, mixed with deep sadness over the loss of Derek Sullivan. Ethan, still weakened by physical and emotional exhaustion, led the group with a silent determination. His gaze was fixed on the path ahead, but his mind wandered between memories of Derek's sacrifice and the lessons learned throughout the journey. The responsibility he had assumed weighed heavily on his shoulders, yet it also gave him a new understanding of leadership and resilience. Ethan knew that despite the scars, he had grown significantly, both as a leader and as an individual. Lisa Thompson walked alongside Ethan, her camera now useless hanging around her neck. The images captured during the expedition served not only as a record of supernatural events, but also as a testament to human strength and vulnerability. She felt a mix of pride and sorrow for the lost lives, including Derek's, whose presence had been as ambiguous as it was essential for the group's survival. Mark Davis was lost in thought, mentally revisiting each device and theory he had developed. The integration of science with ancient traditions had been a crucial key to confronting the dark forces of the forest. He felt compelled to continue his research, determined to find ways to prevent future threats, like the ones they had faced. The experience had challenged his faith in pure logic, forcing him to embrace the complexities of the unknown. Sarah Lee walked beside Mark, her notebook now filled with diagrams and detailed observations. The journey had reinforced her passion for biology and her understanding of the interactions between the natural world and the supernatural. She knew her research could not only help the scientific community, but also protect others from the forces that had threatened their lives. The determination in her gaze reflected her conviction that the truth, no matter how terrifying, needed to be sought. Tom Harris walked a little apart, his mind still processing the horrors he had witnessed. The loss of Derek deepened his understanding of what it truly meant to face the unknown. His notes had transformed into powerful narratives that captured the essence of the human struggle against relentless forces. He knew his stories would not only document the events, but also inspire others to find courage in the face of terror. Upon arriving in Pine Hollow, they were met with a mix of relief and curiosity from the locals. Their presence in the forest during the night became a legend in itself, a tale of survival and sacrifice that would be told for generations. The group shared their experiences, each contributing their unique perspective to the collective understanding of the events that occurred. The community of Pine Hollow, once peaceful and isolated, was now aware of the forces that inhabited the forest and the need to respect and protect the delicate balance between the natural and the supernatural. The indigenous traditions that Ethan had honored gained new significance, integrating into modern practices to ensure Pine Hollow remained safe and harmonious. As the sun rose fully in the sky, Ethan's group felt different, not just as survivors, but as individuals transformed by their shared experience. The physical and emotional scars remained, yet there was also a sense of purpose and renewal. They had faced true horror and emerged stronger, united by indelible bonds of courage, loyalty, and redemption. Months passed since the traumatic events in Pine Hollow. The forest, now more respected and protected, continued to be a refuge for those seeking peace and a connection with nature. Ethan Miller frequently visited the site where the ancient clearing had been, leaving small offerings in memory of Derek and those who had lost their lives that night. Lisa Thompson organized an exhibition of her photographs, highlighting the beauty and mystery of the forest while documenting the courage and resilience of the group. Her images inspired many to cherish and preserve nature, perpetuating the legacy of those who faced the unknown. Mark Davis founded an initiative to combine technology and traditional practices in environmental conservation, promoting a balanced approach to safeguard Pine Hollow and its natural riches. His work attracted the attention of researchers and conservationists from across the country. Sarah Lee published her research, revealing innovative discoveries about the biodiversity and spiritual interactions of the forest. Her academic contributions not only advanced scientific knowledge, but also strengthened the connection between science and local cultural traditions. Tom Harris completed his book, transforming his experiences into a work that captured the essence of the human struggle against the supernatural. The book became a bestseller, inspiring readers to confront their own fears and appreciate the importance of courage and unity. Pine Hollow thrived, balancing tradition and modernity, reminding everyone that true strength lies in the ability to face the unknown with courage, solidarity, and respect for the past. As we conclude this terrifying journey in Pine Hollow, we invite you, dear reader, to reflect on the boundaries between reality and the supernatural, and on the strength of human unity in the face of the unknown. Share your impressions and thoughts on the story, and tell us if you have ever faced moments when courage and solidarity made a difference. Feel inspired to explore your own adventures and to value the connections that make us stronger. Join the conversation and help perpetuate the legends and stories that shape our communities and our lives.